Hello and welcome back to the Post Nerdism Podcast. This is episode 3. I am your host, Sean Lavender, and I'm joined once again by Chris Harris.
Hello again.
So, once again, we got 4 topics. We're going to run through them, and we're starting right now. So, recently, I think it's either been announced or it just came to my attention anyway that there's going to be a Top Gun 2. Apparently, they're calling it Maverick. That's just that's the whole thing they're just calling it. Is just calling it Maverick. And I guess Tom Cruise is confirmed to be in it. Apparently he's wanted to make it for quite a while, but it's just never panned out until recently. So the topic really is just sequels, and is it, I mean, it's kind of a topic that's been beaten to death, but obviously we live in a very much sequel culture. And do you think it's just because movies cost so much to make that no one's willing to take a risk anymore? Instead of playing on nostalgia, they're playing on known names.
Yeah, that's generally the rule with the bigger budget movies. The first movie in a series that they try to make something new is not going to perform as well as the sequels.
Do you think we'll ever get to a stage where
we're tired of?
Yeah, just regular original content is like all we want, and we're just so sick of. I mean, it kind of like still makes a lot of sense that the biggest movie going market, especially like theater market, are people who are used to going to movies their whole life. They're probably, I mean, like my parents go to movies all the time still. I only go to maybe 2 or 3 a year. One of them's probably Star Wars.
Usually, I'm fairly consistent in the movie, especially in the summertime. I'll be going once a week when it gets really busy. They're
also somebody with a good disposable income. I guess that was part of the equation of that. People that are going are, maybe an older generation with the time and the money. Especially like the money to go to movies, because they are pretty expensive to go to.
The nostalgia factor is a big draw on these types of movies. I mean, they're redoing. What do they do? They did The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Recently. They're doing The Lion King.
Blends into another topic.
They did Jumanji.
Jurassic Park is back.
Jurassic Park.
Obviously, Star Wars is going strong.
You got all these ones that are playing on that factor.
I'm trying to think of original movies that I've seen lately, and I guess we watched Wind River, but it was a 99-cent rental.
And it's a lower budget film. You're not going to find, generally, you find less in the big budget movies.
I guess that's really what it comes down to, is how much money it's going to cost to make, whether or not it can make it back. And so why is it then that all these popular franchises are these super high budget films? Why is it that the most popular stuff requires all these special effects? And it's almost like, does that say that you either have a story in your movie or you have effects? You can't like have an original story and effects, it's...
You can have both easy, but it's less expensive if you're starting out to just have a good story and less special effects. And then you tap the special effects and jack them up a bit in the next movies.
Yeah.
When you're trying to repeat and wow.
But you set a bit of a precedent with the first one. Like if let's say you're doing like a slow-paced, I don't know, like a Sherlock Holmes movie. Okay, that's a bad example because they make them pretty high budget. But let's just say it's like literally a solve a crime type movie, and it's just slow, it's evidence-based, a bit of suspense, no real effects, just a good story, start to front.
Generally, that's not going to have a sequel.
Start to front. Exactly. Isn't that the weird part of it? Even if it's a good story. Like, remember I'm sure this was a high budget movie, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo? Now, this isn't a great example because it is just taking an existing property and doing something else with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't one that, a lot of moviegoers necessarily knew about ahead of time. They didn't make the next movie in that series.
I think that'd be more the exception than the rule. I'm not sure what the budget for the Bourne movies were, but I'm pretty sure they got up there too.
Yeah, I guess that was an original concept, right? They weren't based off anything, were they?
Yeah, they're based on books.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. So there's just nothing. Nothing in
Most movies are based on a book or a true story.
I guess it makes sense because they're already
facts.
good writing. Yeah.
I love those trailers. It's like based on actual events.
Yeah.
Not. There's something like this might have happened somewhere, but it has been blown so out of proportion and jazzed up.
Real life doesn't make for good TV, generally, unless you're, very selectively editing, which they just do in those adaptations. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot else to go with that, but I wonder if as the technology gets better, maybe they'll start taking more risks. But I don't know where else technology can even go other than just making like CG type stuff
You
dirt cheap to somehow make.
kind of have a lot of the TV and the streaming covering that
That's
riskier aspect now.
That's a good point. Is that TV I find way more compelling now than movies.
Well, there's a lot more of it now. It's a lot easier to get access to any kind of service.
But not just that you have that longer time to flesh a story out. Maybe that's what it is about movies is their shorter attention span. And so you got to like pack in just nonstop kind of stuff. Whereas TV, you can have a whole episode where it's just kind of
You're
bullshit.
looking at a movie and your average runtime's under 2 hours if they're trying to do it. If it's over 2 hours, then it starts dragging, but that's a different story. But then you get to like Breaking Bad, you got 45-minute episodes.
Yeah.
So you can 3 episodes in, you've covered as much as a full-length movie, and you've got multiple seasons covering the story. So
and your budget on something like that. And that's kind of goes into my example of like that story. It didn't require a lot of fancy stuff. Now and then there was an explosion and some fancy makeup, but for the most part, it was just character story driven. Do we just not want to see that in movies, you think, a lot of the time? Or people don't want to go to a theater to see that? They'd rather just watch that on TV?
I think because movies have to develop characters really quickly, that's less of a thing. You only have that amount of time to develop a character.
Yeah.
You can literally watch someone change over the course of a series as it goes on.
But that makes sense. But why does that influence the budget so much? Do you think it is just because it's a shorter time, so you cram as much? You kind of almost say, well, we can't fit a lot of story in here, so let's make it a big spectacle. Is that the movie approach, you think?
Generally.
Because I guess, when I think about it, I don't go to see comedies in the theater.
No.
Because why would I want to see that on a big screen? I'd rather just sit at home and laugh at it and eat Doritos.
That's why the budget on comedies is generally lower, too.
So I guess when it comes down to it, people shouldn't be that hard on movies. They're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing.
It's generally the big budget blockbusters and then the small indie movies that
I think
the word of mouth.
Streaming and internet stuff has been like the best thing, I think, for movies, really. Because now there's a place for all those indie things to just go straight to consumers where people will take risks and actually watch them.
The studios would disagree with you.
Yeah, maybe. Well, they'd like to get all their money,
so much money with
in one place.
Piracy, but I don't think it's that big of an effect. It's not. If my point of view on that is people that are going to pirate something are not going to go to a theater to see the movie anyways. They're just seeing it because they can.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly
so you're not going to get the money
yeah.
regardless.
And that's kind of what it's almost like the business model for Netflix is things are getting watched because they can be.
Or it could improve even your word of mouth.
Yeah.
Random people streaming it saying, "Oh, this movie's great."
Mm-hmm. I always make a point if I'm somehow happening upon content that I didn't pay for. If I like it, I want more of it. And so I'll seek out the creator of it and either donate or buy something or even just, get the content legitimately afterwards, whatever it takes. Because, that just makes sense to me. If you want to see more of something, you don't tell them just by streaming it for free. You tell them by giving them money.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of off topic, I guess.
Well, if you want to tie into the sequels and the ongoing nostalgia factor, we were going to talk about Jon Favreau.
Yeah. Well, we may as well jump into that because he's a big player in the current nostalgic factor of Disney anyway. So yeah, we'll just jump right into that then. He's been, I guess, signed on to write or to be the, lead writer and executive producer, I think it sounds like, or just producer in general, for the first live-action Star Wars TV show that will debut on Disney's new streaming service, which is due out in 2019, which is all exciting, and I'm sure we'll get lots of fun stuff from that. I think that's really cool news, mostly because from everything I've heard about him, he's just a huge Star Wars fan.
Yes.
And so if nothing else, he's going to make...
I don't know if it'll be anything... It won't be edgy. That's not really his style. His style is more of an upbeat, with comedy elements in there. There can be darker.
A lot of people want an edgy TV show, but I don't even know if it's really necessary for Star Wars. I just want a compelling TV show.
Yeah.
with a good story. And I mean, if it's edgier than the cartoons, I'll be happy, and that doesn't take much.
I generally like what he's done. He's worked on every Iron Man movie that's been out.
He was a big part of
Two
like
is eh.
he was a big part
But,
of
yeah.
launching the whole Marvel kind of universe. With
He's worked in the Avengers. He's got his own. He did his own movie with Chef, where he starred and produced in that. I'm not sure if you've seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I saw it. It
really
looked like it was
like
a good
that
movie.
movie.
I just never saw it. It was good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really good movie.
I always remember him as the UFC guy from Friends. Do you remember that way back? He was Monica was like dating him, I guess. The part that I always remember is she asks him after he gets his ass kicked or whatever. It's like, so you're gonna quit? And he's just like, I've got one question for you. Am I the ultimate fighting champion? No. And it just keeps on going. And they like creeped into his house or snuck in or something and found a receipt for like for a ring. It turns out it was like for his own personal octagon or whatever. That's where I always put him. And he was in the one with Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn, Christmases or Four Christmases or something. He was like one of the douchebag brothers. Yeah. It's such a weird mix of things that he's done. He's like really all over the place.
Yeah. And then he's gone into with Disney outside of the Marvel stuff. He's done the Lion. He's working on the Lion King, and he's done the Jungle Book, which did very well.
Apparently, Jungle Book 2 is something that's coming as well.
Interesting. Well, they've got the sequel going already on that one.
Yeah. That day that it was announced was International Women's Day. There was so much shit about that too, coming from people. I don't know what people are. They're looking for problems, I think, at some point. It's just like, oh yeah, another white guy is making Star Wars movies or whatever. And they're upset that it was being announced on Women's Day. But people are allowed to separate things, and it seemed like a weird.
I don't know if you really just.
I saw more headlines about that than I did about the fact that he was doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think you really planned that thing.
I think a company just makes a decision to announce something. It's not like it was a surprise thing. I mean, they knew they were gonna. I mean, I'm sure they've been talking to him about it. You know, it was March 8th to most people. It was International Women's Day to people who knew. I don't know. Did you even know it was International Women's Day?
Yes.
To me,
if you read the internet or anything on the internet, you know it.
I guess, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I only knew it because of going on and reading
Finding
the Star Wars thing.
story.
Yeah. Which is funny because I actually went to a Women's Day event thing with Christina. So I knew it was in my head, but I didn't like put it together the day I woke up on Thursday. But yeah, speaking of Star Wars, while we're just on this topic, actually, next two things we've got here are Star Wars related. So Rebels is done. I was just gonna. It's not on your list or anything there. And I was wondering if maybe they might try to tie the live action series in with that stuff. I don't really think they're going to, but it'd be cool to see certain cameos for sure.
I kind of hope they go off on their own little story. It's just a little side adventure. Yeah. It doesn't have to be linked to Jedi or anything. Just some random planet out in...
What time period would you like to see then?
Honestly, anything.
Yeah.
Just come up with something
new.
I guess
not Old Republic.
I guess they're probably going to want to go newer to try and keep everything together as it is right now. They've kind of... Rebels has jumped to present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they seem to be
all the Star Wars movies. They're trying to bring everything into this.
They're trying to really fill between episode 3
frame.
and 4. It seems. You got Solo does it, Rogue One does it, Rebels did it. So I wonder if they're gonna do more in there. It'd be cool to see a series. You said you don't want to see Jedi in it, but it would be kind of cool to see like a series where the last remaining Jedi are being hunted by Vader or something, and maybe they have like a support network. And you just see like... And
it would be nice to see something from the dark side.
I guess that might be a bit too edgy, though. A bunch of Jedi dying as Vader hunts them down.
I would like to see something where you see the dark side. I'd like to see a dark side story.
Yeah.
You're following some guy who's doing bad things, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, in TV, that's not exactly like an unprecedented type thing to do. I mean, Breaking Bad is essentially...
Same with video games. You've got... In the video games of Star Wars, generally, they've had that.
In movies, the good guy always wins, basically. So
video games,
TV is the place where you can do that.
You had Force Unleashed.
Oh, I never played any of the...
You're playing as a Sith.
I only played the ship games.
You are the big TIE fighter.
Yeah, I don't think I played any in Rebel Strike, the third Rogue Squadron, there were some ground missions where you're running around, but it's not like a story or anything. But yeah, with TV, like definitely like you think of like Sopranos or something where you're just following the villain the whole time. Breaking Bad, I mean, he's not really a villain, but it's
He
still
turns
kind of
into
edgy.
a villain.
And even things like Game of Thrones, you're definitely following the stories of both sides. Like there's definitely,
Yeah.
I mean, other than I guess if you consider the White Walkers to be the actual villain of that show, but I mean, Cersei's still a villain, and you follow her pretty closely in her story and all that. So you could definitely do that in a TV show where you just don't get the time to do it in a movie. Yeah. Yeah, either way, I'm really looking forward to it. It's too bad it's probably going to be, I wouldn't see it launching with the streaming service because that comes out in 2019, and I don't think they're going to do this before episode 9 comes out.
When is episode 9 out?
2019, at the end probably. So I would imagine it's going to be like a 2020. You know, the main saga will be done. They currently don't have any more anthology movies announced. Now they just got this. And then, of course, you've got 2 other trilogies that they've got floating around there, but we don't know dates on any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I would just think they'd want to get kind of 9 out of the way before they really start going into the deeper cut stuff. Solo is safe. We know who Han Solo is. Rogue One, pretty safe. We knew it was direct prequel to A New Hope.
Obi-Wan.
That's not even really announced. And the more I read about it, the more I'm scared it's not going to happen.
I'd be so disappointed now.
Maybe he could be in the TV series somehow. Is Ewan McGregor too big to be in TV?
Oh, I don't know. I think he's been pushing for that long enough to get back in that role that he would be happy to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I think he'd do it.
Because that would be cool. Maybe it'd be a Kenobi TV show. Because, I mean, it'd be hard to watch one movie that spans the 19-year history of between 3 and 4, and we know he was doing something.
Yeah.
You know, it could easily be a TV show just about him. Either way, I really want to know. Yeah, I think Rebels, though, going back to that, I think it's going to be just another animated thing. Obviously, well, maybe it's not obvious, but the adventures of Ahsoka and is it Sabine? So many names are similar. The Mandalorian girl.
Yes,
at the end
I
of
believe
Rebels
it's Sabine.
with their little
Now you've made me question myself.
epilogue, or was that an epilogue if it's afterwards? Yeah, that's how epilogues work, right? Was that a prologue? No, prologues are before. Doesn't matter. Anyways, they alluded to the fact they're going to go off and try to find Ezra. What did you think of the space whales? Because you didn't really know they existed, did you?
I hadn't really followed the earlier parts of the series when they were introduced.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me though.
Yeah. I think because of its context.
It was the way they set it up in that movie, in the End of Rebels. From everything I could see, there was a lot going on with the whole Force sensitive and animals being strong in the Force, so that didn't bother me.
Ezra and animals, basically the whole series. Yeah. It's an interesting thought, though, that obviously there are spoilers to Rebels here. If you haven't seen it, you've already been spoiled. Maybe I'll put a little warning up on before.
We didn't spoil it too much.
Stuff happens.
Yeah,
we're like 2 weeks late on this anyway, so it's, you haven't
hopefully,
seen it.
If you're a big Rebels fan, you would have followed this.
Yeah, you shouldn't be watching entertainment podcasts if you're worried about spoilers for anything, really. Yeah, but the windows were broken in the Star Destroyer when they went off into hyperspace. I mean, I don't know how hyperspace works, but I imagine it's hard to breathe. So it's an interesting concept. I mean, Leia, we don't really know much about how she survived there in space. You can survive a little bit in space, but I wonder if maybe Ezra was able to put up a force barrier of some kind to keep the oxygen in. I don't know. And in that case, would he save Thrawn while doing that?
Do the space whales put up
Did
some
the
sort of
space whales
protection?
maybe like as they accelerate through hyperspace, they get squished against the windows and just plug them up, and so it's all safe. And while they're traveling, they're like, "Well, I guess we better get to a deck with air."
I believe the whole thing with surviving in space is not allowing it to get inside of you.
Yeah,
like if you're breathing,
hold your body,
keeping
tight.
Everything closed.
Yeah.
Is
Otherwise, it'll
basically
take all the
way.
air out of you really quick.
You know, freeze.
Yeah.
You got moisture in your lungs.
Right.
We just watched that snow movie.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of that? Wind River?
Wind River, yeah.
Where he died.
It's a disturbing thought. The ice crystals build up in your lungs and then like burst them, basically. It doesn't sound like a fun way to go. Yeah, so Rebels wrapping up. And we've got some new information I'm going to start that again so I can make it its own little segment. We've got some new information about Snoke's backstory. Not so much anything information about it, but just the fact that it apparently exists. That Andy Serkis was given some backstory, and that Rian Johnson and JJ did have a plan and kind of know it. It's not like being totally just made up as they go kind of thing, which makes sense. Actors are usually given backstory so they can like internalize the character and act it out properly, I guess. But what I wonder is if maybe they did throw something together just to get Andy Serkis into the headspace for it, when really they have no intention of going forward with it, because he's been asked to not talk about it.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna touch it. I don't think they'd go into that in the final movie of the 9.
I could see them leaving it out.
I'd say they'll leave it.
Yeah,
because if you really think back to the original 3 movies, 5 and 6, you didn't have any idea who the hell the Emperor was. He's just this big bad guy in a chair.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and we didn't know until
you didn't know anything about that
expanded universe started going.
They start revealing other information in the books and other stuff, and then they start doing the other movies.
The only argument you could really put there is that Star Wars wasn't the phenomenon it is now, with the fandom it has now. It was just a couple sequels to, a cool sci-fi movie. It wasn't, this 40-year span of theories and books and comics and all that. And I think the only people upset about Snoke really are the hardcore fans, or even just people who are a bit more than casual fans.
I think Rian Johnson said something to the effect of, if you explain everything in a story, it's not a good story. I mean, if you tie up all your ends, and in the end of the movie, you've limited yourself creatively what you can do in the future. Future movies especially have to go by that movie, because that is now gospel. That is the way it is.
Especially a movie that is the middle of a trilogy. They could explain a bit of backstory, even just a couple lines in episode 9 of like where he came from, and then there's still mystery, but I don't know. There's a lot of things they could do for sure.
That though, I think they could really expand if they want to get into it with the next animated series that they're working on. They could get into it there. I mean, you've got why can't I think of his name all of a sudden? Oh god.
Ezra, Ahsoka, Kanan, Luke.
Snoke. It's right there.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of Snoke's name. He's from the unknown region.
And Ezra flew out.
He was mentioned as
theoretically
in the expanded universe, I believe, which isn't a thing anymore, but No, it was the books that came out after the recent Star Wars movies.
That's a theory, because
it said Palpatine sensed something, dark force,
the unknown
monitoring from the unknown,
calling to him, basically. Yeah.
So he's from the unknown. You got Thrawn from the unknown region, who is now probably back in the unknown region with Ezra,
floating around
in
a hopefully well-stocked Star Destroyer.
You got the Snoke side of that going on.
That could be definitely an aspect of it, yeah. The same way the Emperor kind of popped into Rebels, you could have Snoke maybe pop into whatever they do next.
Because they did say, I believe at the end of the Battle of Yavin...
We're calling it here now. Ahsoka is Snoke. She falls to the dark side,
At the end of the Battle of Yavin, the Empire retreats to the unknown region, the remnants.
Yes, that's where they all run to.
And that's basically how Snoke runs into them.
Yeah, I'm reading the first book of the Empire's End trilogy. It's hard. It's not a good book. But the other two apparently are quite a bit better. So I'll get through it eventually and then have a bit more context there.
So then you could jumpstart your series in that region. Go to the unknown region.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess they've got those trilogies that we don't know what's going on yet. Yeah, you could easily touch on it there.
30-year period. I mean, it's a lot of time to play with. And it's a big galaxy. What he did mention definitively was that he's hundreds of years old. Which, I mean, you look at him, he looks pretty decrepit, but it means he's seen, well, we knew he kind of has seen the rise and fall of the Empire. So he's obviously at least 50 years old. Mm-hmm. But knowing he's hundreds of years old, it meant he possibly observed the kind of Jedi in their prime and a lot of the Old Republic type stuff. And
well, because he's not true Sith.
Well, yeah, he's
just a dark force user.
Especially because the Sith were just 2. And so maybe he was and left the Sith Order. Well, like, who really knows?
Didn't they? Somewhere he's had multiple apprentices.
there was a I think it's the art book or the art of the Force Awakens, maybe even, where it mentioned. I think it was actually talking about Kylo Ren, and it mentioned how Snoke. Maybe it was talking about Snoke. Either way, yeah, it did say in there just a little paragraph that said Kylo Ren was his apprentice, and he had at least one other apprentice.
Well, if you look at Snoke's face, I'd say he's been on the receiving end of a lightsaber at some point in his past.
I still think if they wanted to make him Plagueis, I would be on board. His one other apprentice was Sidious, and it just ties everything together so nicely.
I don't know if that would work now with that other whole. Just the fact that they said Plagueis felt him.
Plagueis didn't? Sidious.
Sidious, sorry.
Sidious, yeah.
Sidious felt him out there, lurking in the unknown region, which is one of the reasons he wanted to map the unknown region.
Well, it could be he felt something familiar, you know? And that's how he felt it in the first place. I don't know. I still think it would be really compelling. Then again, I'm probably crazy, and because I think that Snoke could come back. And that he, if he is Plagueis, and let's say the whole cheating death thing was possible, yeah, we saw him lying on the floor with his tongue basically touching the floor, but maybe after everyone kind of left the room. No, I don't know. I have no idea how that can work. But
I don't know how they would do that. I think that would be more of a TV show thing than something that you'd pull off in a big budget movie.
Yeah, you're probably right. He probably won't be back. I do want answers, though. And apparently, I mean, it seemed like Leia knew who he was in the first movie, because she's like, talking to Han. It's like, no, it was Snoke that pulled him to the dark side. The way maybe it was just the way it was acted out or whatever, but it just felt like Snoke was something everybody knew about. Even Luke seemed to really know who Snoke was, in The Last Jedi. So I wonder if they've had interactions with him over the past 30 years, if he'd been a prominent figure, like when did he actually take over the remnants of the Empire to create the First Order, and how long did it take for him to become he was more of a figurehead than he was a leader, I guess, in a lot of ways. Because he just told Hux what to do, and Hux kind of commanded the military.
He gave Hux the general gist of it.
Yeah, because Hux apparently, it was Hux's father that was initially running everything. Or something like that, or he was high up in there, and then Hux, I think it was that Hux killed him. This is why I gotta read these books. Not talk out my ass.
There's so many books to read, though, and so much stuff to get into every time.
The novelization just came out for The Last Jedi, which I want to read. Apparently there's a lot of just really cool things that they expand upon in there. And of course that movie, actually, does that movie come out this week on streaming services?
The Last Jedi.
And then I think the week after it's out on Blu-ray. I think it was book week, streaming services week, DVD week. So we can do a viewing. That's probably enough Star Wars talk. Yeah. So unless you have something else.
No, that's pretty much it. We can get on into our.
Oh, the one thing I had it here that kind of ties into whether or not they had backstory for Snoke. Do you think the 3 movies, the sequel trilogy, they had a plan for all 3? Or they just literally make one and then go back to the writing board, make another, go back to it again, make another? Because JJ had a script immediately after Last Jedi came out. And of course he had access to Last Jedi's script early, so he would have known plot beats and all that.
I would say they have an overall plan. They've been doing the Marvel movies for a long time before they got into these.
Yeah.
They have a plan.
And they had a plan for that from
the first movie was set up to just hit all the nostalgia factors from the previous 4, 5, and 6. And that's why it basically was 4, 5, and 6 compressed into one.
Well, if you think about it. 4, yeah.
And then they wanted to go a little bit different, and they were very pleased, from what I heard, with the way Rian Johnson's movie was coming out.
Yeah, well, Disney's happy with it.
And I'm personally happy with it.
Yep.
It is a movie that when you were watching it, the first time it was hard to follow because you focused on certain points.
Yes, definitely. I was overwhelmed.
Watching it the second time was a lot better.
I wish we were doing this podcast back when it came out, because
be a lot more relevant.
It would have been a fun thing to just sit and talk and have recorded our first initial
thoughts,
impressions. Because
versus the second time,
so much has changed in my head about it. Yeah,
but yeah, they had a plan.
Yeah, I think that's probably what they did as well, especially with JJ coming back to do the 9th. It was going to be Colin Trevorrow, I think his name was, and apparently that he just didn't have the same vision, I guess, that they did for that movie, and I wonder if it was something that he fought against in the beginning, like especially he wanted Luke basically in his movie still in 9, and there was, I guess, maybe just constant tension, and it got to the point where they couldn't carry on that relationship anymore. And I wonder if they actually let him go quite a while ago, but didn't want to announce it until after Last Jedi was.
Yeah, you don't
out.
want to generate any other press about the other movie. You want everything to be about that movie.
So I wonder, because it seemed like it was all Windfall that came down after The Last Jedi, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that was like 2 years ago. They already knew, okay, you're not going to be here for that. We're going to go in a different direction. Here's some shut up money for a little bit. And then, just announce things when they make sense to announce.
Yeah.
Get that hype train rolling.
I'm kind of interested to see how the next movie goes. I'm not sure how close J.J. Abrams will follow Rian Johnson's style. I don't think I think there's fairly different styles.
Almost at this point, I think we need another JJ movie to
need more lens flare,
refresh, but just to clear your palate, because The Last Jedi was taste. It was a lot of flavor, and a lot of different directions, and you didn't. It needs a conclusion. I think is really what it was.
More of something tying everything together.
Yeah, exactly, and I think JJ is good at doing that. Just bringing it all. Making it feel good, leaving you feeling like, yeah, Star Wars. Kind of the way The Force Awakens did. But still leave off, he's got the same philosophy, I think, that, was it his, where he said, there should be questions. You should have unanswered things, but still within the story itself.
Yeah, if everything's tied, if everything is tied off clean all the time, you have nowhere to go with your imagination.
It's like learning too much about the Force. If you start to learn, it's midichlorians, they're in your cells and they have this little property where they do this, and
just leave that.
It's not
out.
Actually telekinesis. They just send out nano midichlorians and lift the thing for you.
We don't need to know that.
No, exactly. That might just ruin the whole, mythos of it all. Leave it out. Okay, well, let's get into video games. So this is your topic.
The obligatory video game topic.
Yep. Now, this is a good one, though. I was struggling to come up with a fourth one this week.
Yeah, I thought had an idea on discussing what games originally got you into video games.
This would be a fun one to do, too, with the other guys.
Yeah.
If we have that.
That'd be one that we can bring it up again. And early favorites, and what games do you still play on really old systems that probably should have been retired?
Definitely. I actually really like Nintendo for that reason, because they just keep making them new again, so I can keep giving them my money the games I played a long time ago.
They keep getting the money again on the next system. Next system comes out, Virtual Console comes out, here's your game again. And it works every time on me.
We could probably talk about that for hours. Well, your topic, you go first. What do you...
I think the original game I might have played is either... I'm not sure the dates... I'm not sure when did the original Game Boy come out?
Oh, the original Game Boy I think was 88 or 86. Those two numbers are in my head.
Because I played either original Game Boy Tetris or I played Duck Hunt. I'm not sure which one's first at my aunt's house.
But did Tetris really get you into games?
I think it was more Duck Hunt. It would have been more Duck Hunt.
The game was just wow, games are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember playing Tetris and just being like, it's okay.
If you beat it, you get the cool song.
Yeah.
That's about
the
it.
Music in general is iconic.
But it was I definitely played a lot of Duck Hunt when, for some reason, my aunt had a NES.
And so you would have had Mario 1 with it then, I guess?
Yep, but I did not actually play that much.
No?
Surprisingly. I don't think I had enough time to sit down.
I didn't have the Duck Hunt gun. Well, let's say I didn't. My grandpa had at his he had a trailer at a ranch down in the States, and we'd go down there and ride horses and swim, basically whatever. But there was a Nintendo there, and so that's what I did. I didn't care about the horses. I didn't care about the pool or being outside in general. I just wanted to sit inside and play Nintendo all summer. And he had Mario 1, and so that was my I'm pretty sure that was my real foray into video games, because I would have been, literally as young as memories can be formed, trying to play them. But at the same time, I had a friend down the street in Ladner that had Nintendo, and he had Mario 3. And those two memories are crossed in my head of which one came first. I really can't say. But either way, it was definitely Mario. It was Nintendo. And
I know I
stuck for a long time.
started with Nintendo around Duck Hunt, and then I think it solidified probably with the Super Nintendo. I had the Donkey Kong Country.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure everyone's played that game when they were growing up at that age.
played it. I never owned it though.
Yeah, I didn't own it either.
No.
I didn't own an S. I didn't own an SNES. I barely owned a Game Boy. I'm pretty sure my mom monopolized that one to play Tetris all the time.
I remember playing Game Boy with you. Didn't you have a clear one, or was it green?
It was green.
Yeah,
it was green. And then basically, my first big system that I owned for myself, outside of a computer and playing like Dino Park Tycoon and Roller Coaster Tycoon, was when they bought me the N64, and then that's just it's gone from there.
Yeah, I remember when your mom rented the N64.
Yeah.
With Mario Kart, and we just played the ever-loving crap
They
out
would.
of it.
I think she got sick of renting that system because
Yeah.
I would request it every time there was a party or something. It's like rent the N64.
And it was always Mario Kart. We didn't care about any other games. Because that came out in 96.
Yeah.
And so we were 9.
Mario 64. Mario Kart. What else was there? Definitely big into the Banjo-Kazooie.
Yep.
I played that. My first major memory of having a horrible migraine. I suffer migraines.
Maybe that's what triggered them.
Was gaming. Yeah. I think it was Christmas. It was actually Christmas Eve or Christmas night. And I'd just gotten Banjo-Kazooie. And I played it so much, that game. It could not drag me away from it. I had a headache already. I went into my room with the system, turned the lights out, kept playing Banjo-Kazooie until I threw up.
I think we've all damaged our bodies with video games.
It was a different level.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to try and do that again.
No, my only thing similar to that is I got the flu once while playing Diddy Kong Racing. And I think a lot of people have it, but when they get the flu, my dreams are just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And all I had was me in a Diddy Kong, either a hovercraft or a plane, doesn't matter. It was going so fast, and I was going down tracks, just in these constant dream loops, over and over so fast, and then I would just wake up and throw up. And just sweating. It was just a terrible time.
I don't think I have a whole bunch of fever. I've never really had a big fever problem.
Oh, it was horrible. I still have that habit. Like, I had a flu last year. And that day, the worst day of it, I was stacking boxes. Like, I had just tons and tons of boxes, a repetitive task at work. And all night long, I was stacking boxes in my dreams, waking up and throwing up in a sweat. It was horrible. So if I play video games, it doesn't matter what I do. If I have a flu and I'm doing anything, that's
you have
going to be
very vivid dreams.
It's going to be a round, circular dream of vomit. It's just terrible.
I've gotten into other games over the years. Early on, there would have been a fair amount of PC gaming.
I never did that ever.
Got into, was it Abe's Odd World, which was like a side. It's a 2D
It was kind
game.
of a slower one, right?
You're just moving to one side.
Yeah.
2D scroller, adventure game, I guess. Platformer, yeah. And then NHL. I think 98, 96 when I got into that one.
Has PC as well.
And then we kept doing that for like 5 years. Yeah.
I never got into the sports games. Mario sports.
Some of my music that I still listen to today came from early NHL games.
Nice. Yeah, back in the day, my uncle had a Sega. I guess it was a Genesis. And he had the old Atari, actually. On the Atari, I could barely remember. Maybe those are my first memories of games, because those are super fuzzy memories. But I didn't play the Atari that much. But Sonic and Road Rash. I fucking loved Road Rash on the Sega Genesis. Just chains and bats whipping people as you drive by. And the races just lasted forever. At least my small child brain thought they lasted forever. I never beat a race. Not a single race. I would always eventually die. I thought that was the point, is you just go as long as you can go.
Moving into like the PlayStations and stuff like that. I didn't own a PlayStation as a child.
No.
So I didn't really get into those. I missed out on the Final Fantasy. I've never played Final Fantasy 7 by myself. I have only watched people play it.
Huh, well.
I have watched people play it 3 times.
We got another game to add to the streaming list.
That would be a good one Well, I could watch.
No. You play this
I don't
one.
want to break it.
I'm gonna sit there
I don't want to break it.
watch and get drunk.
That's why I'm interested in the remake that they're doing on that. If I have no idea how close it's going to be to the original game, though, because they're saying it's
I'm
episodic.
sure it'll be pretty, if nothing
Yes,
else.
that's generally what they do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've played on the PlayStation, the original, and PlayStation 2, but generally didn't get really into that. We had a friend, I think a mutual friend, Michael, who was very good at not letting you actually play the game. You
I
could watch
never
him.
played PlayStation with Michael. I was out before then.
Okay.
I'd given up on him before then.
Yeah, there's a couple times where I went over to play with him and then just didn't end up playing.
The only thing that him and I could play together was Game Boy because we had our own.
That's pretty much what he needed.
Yeah. But I never owned I owned the original PlayStation eventually. I might have bought it after the GameCube came out. Why would I do that? I don't know how I have that system. I remember buying my PS2. It was almost at the end of the generation. I bought it at Costco because I wanted to play Need for Speed. Hot Pursuit 2. I just loved running from cops. Just loved it so
Wasn't that
much.
on the Xbox too, though?
The Xbox had Most Wanted.
Okay.
That was the Xbox 360 I'm thinking about with Most Wanted. They had the other Need for Speeds, the new ones like Underground.
Yeah, I still remember the To the Window, to the Walls. That song is so stuck into my head just because if you were playing Underground 2, you were sitting on the screen while your car goes through a tunnel with that song playing in the background all the time. When you're doing the original Underground actually. But yeah, my fondest movie or memory about video games would actually be on the original Xbox, Halo.
Yep.
It has directly led to lasting friendships with all of my best friends. We'd known each other before, but we didn't really connect until we were always sitting down gaming. we did very elaborate LANs.
Mm-hmm.
We would get 8 versus 8 going.
Entire houses
full of people that normally wouldn't see each other coming over to play Halo, and we'd commute into Seattle from Vancouver to participate in tournaments, and sometimes literally just against teams from Ladner.
Yeah. Was that the first one we went to where it was literally it was the end of Halo 1. I think Halo 2 might have even been out.
Halo 2, when we went down the next time, I think there was more teams.
But
when there was one where we went down there and it was 3 teams.
And they were all
us.
Yeah. It was funny. We just paid they used to make fun of us saying we just paid them to play Halo.
We had some good my team was usually the worst, so we were generally out pretty quickly. So we sat on the computer playing StarCraft with each other.
I guess your team, you weren't on my team for that? Who was I playing with? Was I with Corey? Or you were with Corey and Evan?
Corey, Evan, and Chase.
Was it 4 players teams?
I think so.
So I must have had... I don't know who I had then. No, there were 3. It was a 3
Was it 3 team?
3-person team because it was Andrew, Dan, and Matt. And I think it was me...
No, because Scans was on somebody's team too.
I think I was with Scans. I think I was with Scans and...
I know one game, it was one I still remember because it was...
Oh, I had Chase on my team. I think it was me chasing Scans.
No, we had 4. We had 4 one game.
Are you sure?
I've had one where it was me, Corey, and either you and Chase. I think we had 4, and it was plasmas only, is what it came down to, was the deciding round. Do you remember playing?
We won that one.
I was in that one.
Yeah.
We won that game when we shouldn't have because it was plasmas only, and we actually knew how to use the plasmas.
Well, if you won and I won, we were on the same team.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure
it would have been you and me and Scans then versus like Chase, Evan, and
that
Corey.
wasn't that one. Scans was the one on the losing end because he was playing with Evan.
We had Chase then, didn't we?
Yeah.
So it was you, me, and Chase.
What about Corey? I swear it was 4.
Then he was with Evan and Scans. I don't think it was 4. We'll have to ask Corey.
Because he would have messed us
Corey
up.
will know. We got to do this with Corey.
He was a plasma master. But on the second part of that, what old games do you still play?
Well, let me keep going back.
Oh, okay. You got some more?
I didn't even. Didn't get past my early memories of my Sonic and Road Rash. Because I remember I wanted to get some kind of a Nintendo. And I remember going to the store to finally get it. I had a paper route. The N64 was like months away from being released by the time I finally got a Super Nintendo. And when I'm in the store, the guy at the game store or whatever is trying to sell me Chrono Trigger, which is like, I don't think it's a game for a 10-year-old. I didn't know what the hell's going on. I just wanted Mario. I didn't even buy Mario. I think I had Chrono Trigger and no, I can't even. I think that's the only game I had because I only could afford one game, and that's the one. He's like, "Well, this will give you the most game time." It's like, yeah, because it has like 10 endings or something. But a 10-year-old doesn't. I had no idea. I hated it. I was so upset when I got home and tried to play it. But Blockbuster was a thing, so I basically just rented games the entire Super Nintendo life. I maybe owned like 5 games. But then the N64 came out, and I regretted spending all my paper route money on Super Nintendo stuff. And I remember I'd go over to Brandon Plekis' house. You remember him?
Yep.
Because he had Mario 64. And I would just go there to play Mario 64.
I was lucky enough to own that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't own it for quite a while because I bought my N64 with Mario Kart. And then I think GoldenEye was pretty soon after that.
I never really got into the GoldenEye one, which is why I thank myself that I can still play normal controls on regular games and not have problems.
Yeah, me and Corey are still broken because of GoldenEye. We still play with legacy stupid controls. But GoldenEye is what got me then into games like Time Splitters and Perfect Dark, then Time Splitters. And that's what kept me playing with people like Dan and Andrew. We kept on looking for shooters. Going from there, and then they moved to Halo, and it was like, you got to do this.
I don't even remember what triggered me getting Halo or buying an Xbox, but I'm pretty sure it was just everybody else was like, saying, "Oh, Halo's amazing."
We need people to crush in Halo. We're tired of 1v1s. We got to play some Halo. We all have it now. We all have Halo 1 on our Xbox Ones.
Oh yeah, on the Xbox Ones.
We just never play it now. We gotta.
We have an upcoming thing.
Right here, we have 5 screens we can easily play. Yeah, maybe we should get the Xbox Ones out.
We definitely should.
Play Halo 1. That'd be a lot of fun. But yeah, from that, I didn't actually get an N64 for quite a while because my oldest sister's boyfriend was trying to convince me to buy a PlayStation. And he even brought his over and all his games, which he did have Soul Blade, which was really fun. That became Soul Calibur and all that from there.
Oh, okay.
That was like the original game. Didn't convince me though. No, my mom was like trying to convince me to do it for some reason, just because he was older and was chatting her up about what I should get. Stupid 18-year-old sister's boyfriend thought he knew everything. You can't stop my paper route money. I got what I want. I continued my Nintendo fanboyism right up until Halo.
I don't think I bought anything for the N64. It was all purchased for me. Thank you, parents.
Feeding the habit. You are to blame for him today.
Everything on the Xbox was mine, though.
Yeah.
For games that I still play, I would definitely say mostly Nintendo games for the simple reason that, as you said earlier, they keep releasing it.
Yeah.
I regularly plug my Wii in just because of it's got Mario Tennis, Mario Party 2, Mario Kart, which we play over any other version of Mario Kart.
The battle's still better than any others.
It is. It's the KISS protocol.
Yeah, it's simple.
It is simple,
which makes it balanced.
Yes,
and it's just good. It's like Halo 1. Everybody had a pistol.
And this, I mean, how can you beat Skyscraper at 150cc? Yeah. There, you are barely hanging on. But yeah, it's probably mainly Mario Kart and Mario Party that I go back to.
Yeah, and what I can appreciate about the re-releases is that the resolution generally gets a bump, which is really all I really care about from those games. Like, that's what makes them unplayable now, to go back and play those actual consoles, is that the resolution is just trash.
The massive jaggies.
TVs do better now at kind of smoothing things out and upscaling things a little bit, on a surface level. But yeah, as far as going back, I think the GameCube era is the easiest for me to go back to, because I felt like that generation, so that was the Xbox and the, I guess, PS2. Yeah, it would have all been that. PS2 is difficult for me. I find it doesn't look as good as the other two.
No.
But the GameCube especially, and the controller to me was perfect. Like it's
We still use
one of my
GameCube
preferred
controllers.
If they just changed a little bit about the triggers, I would use it for every console. I mean,
You look at the pros playing Smash Bros. They use GameCube controllers
but
generally.
it was just the standard for sure. But I didn't even think graphics needed to get better at that point.
Yeah.
Like resolution for sure, frame rates, yes.
Mm.
But as far as polygons and effects, I don't know. There are cool things you can do with more, but as far as like gameplay wise, I thought they were as good as they ever needed to be. In fact, now I'm playing games like Horizon and finding it weird. Just the graphics look too uncanny valley now.
Well, and the games don't need. I feel like the 1-to-1, like the facial recognition stuff that they're using in some of these games now,
Yeah.
it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a shortcut because they can map a person's face, so they don't have to animate it.
Yeah. Well,
And it just doesn't come across as the same. It just
you can
doesn't
never animate it to make it look real, like hand animation.
Maybe they'll get there.
Well, I mean, with the facial thing, then maybe they'll get it with that technology. I can see why they're going that route because that's probably the route to go to get it eventually real. But yeah, if you were to hand animate it, then it would just look like a video game, which I'm cool with.
I'm not sure what they did in The Last of Us, which you need to play,
Yeah, that's another
but that one looked perfectly fine to me. And
Yeah.
the remaster, which is you can get on the 4.
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I own it.
You
Just
own
need to
it, but
get
you
around
haven't
to
played it. You played Horizon over Last of Us.
Well, I kicked the
I would
habit of
disagree with
Destiny
that.
2, and then Monster Hunter got into my life, and now I have a new habit to kick. Because when
What
I'm
else
going to play a
is-
game, I'm going to boot that up.
What else is coming out soon that I'm probably going to drag me away from Monster Hunter? Sea of Thieves is likely to drag me
Isn't
away
that
from
out?
Monster Hunter.
Or is it in
That's
beta?
really close.
Yeah. I've seen people talking about it more and more.
Yeah,
now.
they've had multiple. They've had a beta and an open.
Okay. Looks
But
like
yeah.
your mic's a lot harder than mine.
Yeah, I seem to
damn.
be getting a lot higher.
What happened? Oh well, I think I've got the limiters working. Okay, well, good podcast. Good episode. If you want to support what we're doing here, please just leave a like. Subscribe on all your favorite services. And
Just view the video.
leave a comment, and we can use some views. We get literally nothing. I got to get better with my tagging and my general advertising. But that's okay. This is practice content when it really comes down to it. Getting our legs here. Anyways, yeah, thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.
See ya.